Mad Alliance and anyone watching, how's life going for you? It's Joe, aka Mad Joe FC. Welcome to the video. Those of you who are watching exclusively here on Patreon, I'm sure you guys are in for a freaking treat because you're about to see my reaction, full reaction for the entire episode of Boku No Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 13, the climax. I've heard this episode's freaking hype, so I'm freaking hyped to watch it. Let's get it. Kick back, chillax, and enjoy the reaction. Mad Smash! Oh my God! Holy frick frack! This might be my favorite episode of the whole show. Deku is absolutely my favorite character in the show now. Without question. Yes, more than All Might. Overhaul might be my favorite villain. Yes, maybe I might like him more than All for One. This episode went beyond plus ultra. This was beyond hype. This was one of the best episodes of any animated show I've ever watched in my life. Let's freaking talk about it. This entire episode is pretty much non-stop crazy from beginning to end, starting off with the scene from the beginning of the rescue. The huge buff guy has been restrained but immediately breaks free because his drug boost has kicked in, so now he can use his quirk to suck people's life force for energy without even touching them. The lady heroes are still fighting him though, and then Deku comes to ask for help down below. The lady heroes all team up on huge buff guy, each using their quirks and giving it their all, which results in them crashing through the ground, right at the exact spot where Deku and Overhaul are fighting. I actually thought it was a pretty cool girl power moment for the female heroes here, and it didn't feel forced not one bit. This makes the female heroes and me wonder who the Deku up top was then, and I really shouldn't have been surprised and should have known it was Toga. I think she did slightly cut Deku on his face during their small encounter a few episodes back, so it does make sense that she was able to transform into him. It was part of her and Twice's plan to escape the Yakuza and get them and all of the heroes in one spot to duke it out. They are crazy, but that was a well-devised escape plan that they had. In the midst of all the mayhem, Overhaul attempts to make his escape with Eri, but Deku isn't going to let that happen and jumps towards them. She uses her quirk out of nowhere, and some flashback scenes are shown to explain exactly who Eri's parents are and why she's the person Overhaul is using out of anyone else to make the drug. So in the end, I was right about Overhaul not being Eri's father, but it turns out that she actually is the boss's granddaughter. She's the daughter of the boss's daughter, and it's sad that her own mother just abandoned her. I mean, yeah, she did turn her mother's husband into nothingness, but it wasn't intentionally, and her mother should have known that. She didn't know how to control her quirk then and still doesn't, even now. I know the mother would be more than distraught about her husband dying, but I still don't think that's a reason to abandon your own child. The boss called his daughter stupid, and yeah, I definitely agree. Not just Overhaul, but even her own mom called her quirk a curse. She's been belittled literally her entire life, so it's no wonder why she's so upset, and absolutely no wonder why she thinks so much about the kind things that Deku has said about her. So her quirk doesn't come from her mom or dad's side of the family. It's a mutation that manifested on its own, something that happens very rarely. I agreed with the boss about Erie's mother being stupid, but now I'm starting to think that the boss was stupid as well. Here's what I don't get. Erie is the boss's granddaughter, his own blood. So why did he just hand her over to Chisaki out of all people? Why didn't he take her under his own care? He definitely looked okay enough at that time to be able to take care of her. He took in Chisaki and raised him, and he's not even related to him. So I really don't think he would have minded taking in and raising his own granddaughter. I know he wanted Chisaki to learn more about her quirk, but still, that could have at least been done with the boss there watching, because he clearly knows how Chisaki has become lately. So by abusing and torturing Eri, Overhaul studies and learns exactly what her quirk is. The ability to rewind. I didn't notice it when watching for the first time, but when watching it for a second time, I realized that she actually used her rewind quirk on Overhaul and rewinded him just to the point that Confession Guy was no longer in him. That is a really awesome quirk, and in this episode, it proves to be really useful. Next came what was, for me, a very unexpected emotional moment that was done amazingly. Throughout the season, Eri has not wanted the heroes to save her because she knew they would be hurt or killed while trying. Then at the end, it's clear to her that they're not going to stop, and she finally realizes that she has to let them save her because if not, then they're likely going to eventually be killed while trying. So she jumps, Deku catches her, and my god, the feels started flooding in. Yes, there have been lots of emotional moments in this show, but this moment had really just hit differently for me. Eri finally allowing herself to be saved, along with Deku's sheer determination to save her and not let her go, followed by the embracing between them when Eri knows she's now safe. Everything in this moment was just incredible, and I appreciate how the Deku-Eri freefall part near the end of this season's first opening was to symbolize this exact moment of them reaching for each other. And the music. Holy cow, it was so good. I imagine there might be some guys who were thinking the music was too, not in tone with the show, I guess, but I have to highly disagree. This was a very emotional moment for these two characters. A very young girl knowing she's finally free from basically captivity, and a young guy finally saving this girl from a place where he knew she was suffering. I loved the song so much that I searched for it and the lyrics, and as a native English speaker, I was pleasantly surprised to find that it was originally performed in English, because the majority of songs used for anime are usually performed in Japanese. The lyrics had fit perfectly to the situation, and even just the instrumentals alone had just felt so right for this moment. To me, the music gave off the feeling of, it's finally over. You're okay now. You don't have to worry anymore. Now, of course, the characters didn't hear the music, but what I'm saying is that if I was in Eri's situation and heard this music at the moment that I was finally free, then the feelings I described in my previous sentence are the feelings I would be having in that moment. Things get crazy here as Overhaul tries to get Eri back, and everything from this point on until the end of the episode is... yeah, I'm gonna say it. It's God's here. Deku had literally just disappeared, and I had no clue how that had happened at first. He was going in to kick Chisaki, and he realized that the reason he was blown back is because he had used One for All at 100%. Just the sheer amount of literally energy alone from charging it at 100% had made him get blown miles into the sky and made the area collapse that they were fighting in. So just imagine the type of damage he would be able to do to enemies once he's learned how to fully control One for All at 100%. This guy is going to be a monster. I love how for the first time throughout the entire show, we see Deku take in those words All Might told him back in Season 1 and is saving Eri with a smile on his face. And not just a little smile, but a huge smile. It's a small moment, but one that longtime fans of the series can really appreciate. The few previous times throughout the show that Deku has used One for All at 100%, his legs and arms broke from the quirk's power, but this time his bones stayed intact and his injuries from the spikes were even healed, all thanks to Eri's quirk. The exact moment that his leg broke, she had rewound it back to before it had broken, and because of that, he wasn't able to feel any pain. Like Deku said, her quirk is not a curse. It's a blessing, and it greatly contributed to the fight in this episode. He is taking a gamble though by not letting her go because Chisaki explained that he's brought her quirk to its endpoint and knows its full potential. Her quirk doesn't only rewind flesh, but also can rewind a species back to its unmutated form. So basically, it has the power to annihilate quirk factors, which is what Chisaki wants since he thinks quirks are a disease because he thinks it gives people false hopes and dreams. Deku is risking his quirk or himself being rewound into literally nothing, but it's a risk he's willing to take to keep Eri away from Overhaul and to stop him. Overhaul encounters them and has morphed himself with the big buff guy to give himself another boost. But also now that Deku has an idea of how fast Eri's quirk is rewinding his body, he feels confident enough to intentionally charge up his one for all at 100% for a full fight. So Deku unlocks his God mode, goes Super Saiyan, and then one of the best freaking fights in anime history begins. Or actually, to be honest, it wasn't even a fight. It was a straight up butt whooping, but let's talk about it. Overhaul strikes at Deku, but he instantly vanishes, and he pretty much acquires Godspeed when he's using one for all at 100%. When he vanished, he had striked back at Overhaul without him even seeing and laid a heavy 100% full cowling kick on him, blasting him through the sky. All who saw the fight were shocked, and I thought it was funny that even Crazy Girl had said, "Dang Izuku." While Chisaki is unconscious in the air, there is another flashback scene with him and the boss that provides more needed information about them. This flashback scene makes it clear that at the beginning, Chisaki's one intention was to repay the boss for taking him in, by restoring the Yakuza and having them rule the underworld again. Like I said before in one of my previous reviews, his intentions were good in the beginning, but at this point, he's too far gone, and it seems like he's using trying to fulfill the boss's desires as a cover for what he's really trying to do. This is one of the reasons why I really like Overhaul as an antagonist because of his backstory and transition from criminal to villain. He does want to repay the boss, and they both want the Yakuza to be successful, but the boss has stern morals and ideals he lives by. Chisaki, on the other hand, thinks that morals and ideals aren't going to help turn the tide, and so now he has a mindset of doing and using whatever is necessary to accomplish his goals. And of course I don't think what Overhaul was planning to do was right, but I do think that it was pretty genius. Him creating a drug to annihilate quirks to give to villains, and then making a serum to restore quirks that he would give to the heroes, and have them go at it back and forth, would give him some amount of control over heroes and villains. Heroes and villains would constantly be buying the different drugs needed, so Overhaul would be making major bank. And to top it off, Eri is the source of both drugs, so he would have an endless supply. The Hisaki really would be ruling Japan from the shadows, allowing Chisaki to be able to repay the boss with financial wealth and a dominant criminal organization. That was Chisaki's initial plan, while the boss was still leader, but the boss continuously saying no to it is what made Chisaki's slow criminal to villain transition start. The boss for sure is not okay with using Eri as a crux to put the Yakuza back on top, not only because she's his granddaughter, but simply because she's a human being, and using her like that is absolutely messed up. That is completely against his morals and ideals, and Chisaki most likely thinks that the ideals of heroes had a hand of influence on the way the boss thinks. The boss is the leader of a criminal organization, but also has morals similar to those of heroes, which limits the extent he will go to accomplish his goals. That's the only reason I can think of for why Chisaki might have thought the heroes were the reason for the Yakuza not being able to rise again, and would also support his reasoning for thinking that heroes, with quirks, dreams, and ideals, are diseased people. So then Chisaki's plan shifts from fulfilling the boss's desire to fulfilling his own by perfecting the drug that can annihilate quirks and use it to destroy their world built upon quirks. Chisaki, reaching his highest point of frustration with the boss and his ideals, then uses his Overhaul quirk on him, rapidly aging him and saying he will repair him once the Hisaki makes it big again. I honestly was actually surprised when it was revealed why the boss is so sick and bedridden, but I really shouldn't have been, because it goes back to Chisaki doing and using whatever he thinks is necessary to accomplish his goals. And that is how I see Chisaki's transition from criminal to villain. I think is a very solid transition with believable motives and reasoning, and gives an ounce of depth to his character. So, Overhaul regains consciousness and the beatdown continues on strongly. I am still a bit upset with how little animation the Mirio v Overhaul fight had, but now I can very clearly see what fight the studio was saving up most of the budget for, because the animation in this fight was freaking epic and was so enjoyable to watch. Very fluid movements, amazing visuals, and visible hits from Deku to Overhaul. Also, there is no way I cannot mention what I believe was a One Punch Man reference when all of the multiple huge fists appeared and struck at Overhaul. I'm not sure how Deku was able to do that, but instead of there actually being all of those fists, I'm thinking it was maybe just a cool way to represent that possibly being the strongest punch Deku has ever done. The fight then comes to an end as Deku gives one last insane punch to Overhaul, and I just love how freaking dominant Deku looks and is over Overhaul in this moment. Overhaul slowly rises his head up, only to see a force not to be reckoned with, and you can clearly see the fear in his eyes. This moment is so good to me because it finally shows Deku at full peak hero status, shining brightly in front of darkness, risking his life, valuing others over himself, and instilling fear into the eyes of his enemies. This single visual moment definitely represents that, and now nobody, and I mean nobody, can call Deku a whining little crybaby any longer. And honestly, I don't think he ever was a crybaby, especially after thinking back on different moments throughout the show where he has heavily showed his emotions. Deku is still a kid who is an honest and open person who cares about those around him from the bottom of his heart, even if he doesn't know them, Eri being an example. His mom raised him with kindness, care, and love, and encouraged him to be the most true version of himself. Because of that, Deku isn't afraid to show his emotions on the outside that are the exact emotions he is feeling on the inside. Him doing his best to be a hero, while also not putting on a mighty, fearless hero act, and instead just being his true self, is what helps us see him as a candidate for the hero's gig. His self-sacrifice really cements it in, and shows us that anyone who acts before they think to save people and are willing to sacrifice their needs for others can be a hero. This episode was a huge moment for Deku, and I was so proud of him and seeing how far he's come on his journey to becoming the next greatest hero. The final punch to end the fight is fantastically animated, and Chisaki literally didn't get not one lick in. Deku had completely mopped the floor with him while serving up justice. As the episode comes to an end, it's revealed to Sir Night-Eye that Deku did indeed survive, even though he was sure that he had died because of the future that he had saw. I was surprised that Night-Eye had actually survived when I saw him earlier in the episode, but I honestly don't think he's going to be alive much longer. I know that for some reason characters in anime can survive some ridiculous things that would most likely kill anyone else, but I mean, come on. He has taken a large spike all the way through his gut and has already lost probably too much blood. If the spike is taken out, it's most likely going to instantly kill him, and of course keeping it in him is going to kill him. So it does suck, but I just don't see him making it out of this one. And like I said in my review for last episode, it is a tragedy, but it shows that real consequences do come with being a hero, and in my opinion, it makes the story for this arc feel more realistic. What I do like about Night-Eye not dying instantly after being impaled is that he was alive long enough to get to see Deku prove himself as someone worthy of being the next One for All holder. Deku really did twist fate and changed the future that Night-Eye thought was immutable. So if that isn't enough to make Night-Eye believe Deku has what it takes, then I don't know what is. The one thing that I had felt bad about when I thought Night-Eye instantly died is that he would have died thinking that Chisaki had beat the heroes, escaped with Eri, and that Deku wasn't worthy of holding One for All. So it really made me happy that the exact opposite happened. If he does eventually die in the next episode, then at least he went out while being a hero, knowing Eri was saved and that the heroes came out on top. And I definitely feel that Sir Night-Eye finally approved of Deku being the next All for One holder, and now thought he was worthy of it because of that very slight smile he had gave at the very end of the episode. As far as final thoughts go, everything I wanted to say, I pretty much said in the reviews, so I don't really have any final thoughts. Everything I felt for this episode, I said in the reviews, so I'm just going to end the review here, and hopefully you all enjoyed it. I know for sure that I definitely included some small clips of my reaction to the episode within this review. So, like I always say near the end of my review videos, if you want to see my full reaction for the episode, then there will be a link down below in the description box and in the pinned comment. That'll take you to my Patreon page, and if you want to, you can pledge to the one and only tier that I have, which will give you full access to my entire reactions for episodes of any anime and any shows that I watch. And speaking of my Patreon, I want to give a personal shout out to 2 of my patrons who are pledged to my one and only tier that I have, Jeff Lewis and Zephos. I appreciate both of you being pledged to my one and only tier. I thank you both for the support that you guys show me, and I thank you all for the support that you all show me on my videos. Anyone who's watching any of my videos, whether it's YouTube, Patreon, if you're watching any of my content, then in some way you're supporting me, and I thank you guys for that. Let me know what you guys thought of episode 13 of Boku No Hero Academia Season 4 down below in the comments section, and let me know what you thought of my video as well. Smash the like button, share this video with anyone who you feel would enjoy. If you are new around here and you like what you see, tap the subscribe button to join the Mad Alliance on our journey to 100,000 subscribers, and ding dong the notification bell to be notified of when I upload a new video. It's Joe, aka Mad Joe FC. I hope you all have a marvelous day. Mad out. And that's the video. Mad. Strong. Together.